Hello, everybody, and welcome to my first podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about distracted while driving and should laws have more restrictions against driving, like texting and doing hand frees and stuff. Today, we have my special guests here. To over here to my left, we have Ashley,
Hi, good morning.
and next to Ashley is Devin.
Morning.
And last but not least, my special guest of honor is Mrs. Santana.
Good morning, everyone.
Today we're going to be talking about distracted while driving because it is actually something that I think is really important to talk about because as a new driver myself, like I've been taking like lessons and stuff, it's like something that I've never even like thought about, especially when I'm driving. Like I get power naps after because I'm extremely tired after it because it's extremely stressful. So the first question would be, the first question is, what do you think about hand-free, like hands-free stuff like texting or like calling? Because everything is in like Bluetooth now. What do you guys think?
I think that Siri is really useful, especially nowadays, because instead of holding down on the phone button, you don't even have to touch it. You could just say, "Hey Siri," or same thing if you have your phone connected to your car. It's very easy to also use the steering wheel if you want to like change songs or actually use your Bluetooth. So I think it's very useful for kids nowadays, especially when they have to call their parents and they're like trying to get their kids to rush home and stuff. You could just call them on the car. And yeah.
Yeah, I
much.
think the whole Bluetooth devices being implemented in cars is like, it's just such a vital part because obviously phones being such a big part of people's lives nowadays, like you can say that you're too attached to your phone or you're not too attached to your phone or whatever, depending on which generation you're from. But uh, regardless, it's such a big part of life nowadays that I think Bluetooth being a part of cars and being able to call and text from Siri and stuff like that, like Ashley said, is such an important thing nowadays.
Yeah, someone who commutes 60 miles each way. I
Oh.
pass more than
60 miles.
each
What?
way. Yes, daily.
Wow.
It's 120 miles a day. I pass more than a handful of accidents on a daily basis on the LIE, and oftentimes when you look at the just the circumstantial evidence, it seems like it was a result of distracted driving because the speeds change so much on the LIE. I can't imagine anybody not using Bluetooth technology in their cars because that split second you take your eyes off the road could be a few hundred feet if you're traveling 60, 70 miles per hour.
Wow.
So I think the use of these devices is crucial.
Yeah, definitely. Do you guys think that the music, if you guys ever put like music on like on the radio or something, do you think they distract you?
Um,
At high volumes, I think anything could be distracting.
I
Yeah.
mean, in a personal opinion, I think that when I'm driving, especially when I have music playing, it's like it kind of calms me down a little bit because being
Yeah.
a new driver is kind of an iffy subject, an iffy
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like listening to a little bit of music, like kind of low when I'm driving,
Yeah.
because it like helps me. Like I focus on the lyrics and like it like lowers my anxiety a little.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically,
Definitely.
we turn the volume down when we're lost.
True.
So I don't know what that's supposed to do, but we all do it. Wait, I've got to park. Let me put the volume on the music down.
Yeah,
No,
definitely.
but like that's so true. I never thought about that.
But
Like,
it goes to
hold
say
on.
about even subconsciously you being aware of being distracted.
Yeah.
So if you need to focus, we often try to minimize distractions.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people think that they could actually like drive and like have like one hand on the steering wheel, then looking down and looking up. Like obviously, it's impossible to do.
I
Like,
couldn't imagine
yeah,
for one. Well, I guess coming again from a new driver, like I couldn't imagine having something in my hand while I'm trying to focus on not
yeah, like
hitting things.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear
And
people
other
who.
people
So-
hitting you a whole bunch of
Oh
things.
yeah, I hear
Yeah.
people
So,
driving.
Yeah. So I
while doing
imagine
makeup.
I'm old enough to. Well, I've passed people using cell phones on the road, applying makeup as you suggested, on the phone. And imagine I lived in a time before technology or cell phones. We used to actually read paper maps while driving, which is in itself a skill.
Gosh. Probably
be-
saw so many people with a burger in their hands instead of like a cell phone while driving.
That's me definitely.
while driving.
Love burgers.
I know I've been in a few fender benders in my life, and luckily never anything too major. But it really just takes that one split second for something to go really badly. So certainly distracted driving is certainly not an activity you should engage in.
Yeah. Well, I did a little bit of research, and I actually have some viewpoints that you guys can agree or disagree on.
Sure.
The first viewpoint is all states need to enact and enforce laws prohibiting activities such as texting and cell phone use while driving. Or viewpoint 2, the emphasis should be on educating people about the dangers of distracted driving and finding other solutions. Which one do you guys agree with most?
I think I agree with the first one, but like I said earlier about the whole, like, I've seen people, like, putting on makeup while driving and, like you said, reading paper maps. I feel like there's, besides the whole texting and driving and taking phone calls, there's other things that people do while driving.
Certainly, there's other
Correct.
distractive things.
There's
you
very
could be doing, yeah.
a,
You could be
a
doing
long list of
anything.
distractive things that
Yeah, you
you
could be
could be
doing literally
doing.
anything other than looking at the road. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
that
definitely.
I feel
Oh.
like people need to, come down hard on.
I would say that as important as laws and penalties are, people often don't listen to them because it's about getting caught versus it being about the law. So I think the education piece is important, but I think as humans, sometimes we adopt this mentality that it's not going to happen to me, and so people still engage in these behaviors. We think about drunk driving. How many drunk driving accidents are there?
Yeah,
You just have to put on Channel 12 News on any Saturday morning, and the first story is always fatal collision on one of our roads. So I think the education piece is important, but we can't diminish the strength of the phone and the addictive natures it has on all of us, not just you guys and your generation, but even people my age.
Yeah, definitely. I agree on that 100%. Have you guys ever, like, caught anybody on their phones or, like, doing the most weirdest things you've ever seen
Yes.
Oh.
ever?
yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
You see people of all ages doing it too. It's not
Absolutely.
even
Yeah,
just kids.
pretty
You
much.
see everybody doing it.
Also, I've seen people, like, smoke while they drive, and I'm like, that car can explode at any moment. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if I go ahead and see somebody smoking, and then all of a sudden, an explosion. I'm like, okay, I predicted it. It's fine.
I called it.
Yeah. Okay, overall, what did you learn today in this podcast about distracted while driving? If you learned anything.
I learned, I think, I have faith in this generation. I think you guys are very aware of the dangers. I think more so than people of my generations because we've been driving so long.
Yeah.
So I think it may have been a harder adjustment for us to, sort of eliminate those bad behaviors while driving. Whereas if you're just coming into it, you kind of are wired a little differently and programmed a little differently to do the right thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's all about educating this generation and the younger generation about safe driving. 'Cause
Yeah, definitely. Do you guys think that you ever text while drive?
No.
Have you ever done it, Mr. Santana?
I have.
You have?
Yeah,
Oh my
I'm gonna be honest
gosh.
on this podcast,
Come
and I should not. But now I use it. The issue is for me, I reject technology because I'm old. So you guys use Siri a lot more than I would use it on my phone. Even
Yeah.
though my thumbs are slower than my voice, there is some sort of a mental barrier there. But I finally got over it, and I don't do it anymore because I've had close calls. I make that confession where all of a sudden, like, oh my God, I'm about to, get into a little collision. And unfortunately, there's never been anything major, but certainly there's been more than one time where I'm like, put the phone down, put it in the bag,
Yeah.
don't look at it.
Yeah.
And you could pretty much do almost everything just with the voice commands.
Who knew? Our own principal. Text while driving.
I don't do it regularly, right? Let's not misrepresent. But I have. I've been guilty of it, yes.
Yeah. Have you guys ever done it?
No.
No.
Every time I've driven, I've just always had my phone on D&D and in the center console. I never
Yeah.
really touch it.
That's
How long
perfect.
have you guys been driving?
I've been driving personally. My dad taught me when I was in middle school. I used to
Yeah.
like drive around
Oh.
like the boatyard and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun. I never really went like over 20 miles per hour before until like I was a little bit older. But I learned how to drive when I was like I think 13 or 14.
I mean, like, legally.
This is a podcast. Don't confess to anything. you
Yeah,
want.
no. Legally speaking,
Never.
off the record, I've been driving since, like, driver's ed started.
Right,
Wow.
perfect answer.
I'm not saying I haven't known how to drive, but
Do you guys
In the
prefer
eyes of the law.
taking lessons, or did you guys do driver's ed instead?
I
Every-
just I did both.
Yeah, no, I didn't do both, but like my parents made it feel like a lesson, so it felt like the same thing.
Yeah.
basically.
Honest-
yeah.
Except it was more annoying doing it with my parents.
No
because-
offense to you or your driver's ed program, but I found that like being taught in a car with a parent or something was a little bit more hands-on and
Yeah. Well, it
know,
was
learning.
virtual.
Well,
yeah.
a more learning experience.
In the past, driver education included the driving component. Ever since the COVID and the pandemic, they eliminated that portion and gave that ability to parents. So,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did it with my son. Actually, we drove upstate, so he did all his hours in one weekend.
Oh.
Wow.
So I just put him in the car and said, "You're driving up to Ithaca," which is
That's
a 6-hour drive.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And he survived a couple of close calls. Almost drove into a ditch with his wide left turns. but we survived, and he's a good driver now. But like you guys, he's automatic with the voice controls, whereas I think people who are older, not so much.
Yeah,
You might,
definitely. Well, thank you guys so much for coming along.
Oh,
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, this is really exciting. I might do this again, actually.
All right, drive safe.